Hi everyone again. Everybody say, oh, how cute is Sadie today. Without further ado, let's read from her book. My insides were tied up in knots, my mind and my heart battling for supremacy as Marnette and I said our goodbyes. Why did this have to be so difficult? Why couldn't I just do the reasonable, rational, sensible thing and let Sadie go? How had she already managed in the span of just a few days to work herself so completely under my skin and into my heart that I could barely manage a life without her? And yet, it was almost equally difficult to manage a life with Sadie, long term, considering her need for round-the-clock care. That afternoon was warm and sunny, so in lieu of making any final decisions, I instead chose to give the perpetually stinky Miss Sadie, not anymore, a bath outside near the wooden gazebo where red-breasted robins and black-masked cardinals assembled their delicate nests, and the still tender late April grass grew soft and dense and emerald green, not yet bleached and toughened by the harsh summer sun. If I do take Sadie to be euthanized tomorrow, I told myself, allowing that possibility to creep into my consciousness, it's important that she be clean and shiny and smell nice. It should be obvious to everyone that she has been cared for, that she has known true human love. Well, guess what? I think you are cared for. I think you know true human love. What do you think? Anybody disagree with me? No, I knew you wouldn't. You are cared for and you are loved. Thank you for everything anybody does out there. We appreciate it so much. Thank you for this gorgeous dog. Right, Sadie? Sleeping? And we'll continue our series of reading Saving Sadie, How a Dog No One Wanted Inspired the World. Bye for now. Hi again. Sadie is right now barking at somebody, so she might interrupt us while we're reading. We're reading again from Saving Sadie, Sadie's book, and you can see how she's doing her chicken buck, 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 buck. Right, Sadie? What do you see? Buck, buck. Anyway, all right. So if she interrupts us reading, pardon her. Sadie was a good sport and never complained or fought me as I sat cross-legged with her on the living room floor, struggling to slide the diaper beneath her lifeless back end and around her legs and tail, and then tape the whole thing into position. Do you remember that? Do you remember that? You don't want to remember that, right? I didn't think so. She doesn't remember. That's good. I actually secretly wished she would complain or fight me. I was still desperately looking for signs of that bright, spirited dog, the one I have right now, you spirited thing, you. You make me laugh every day. I was still desperately looking for signs of that bright, spirited dog that I had seen just days before, and not this sad, dead-eyed dog staring back at me, lifeless and uninterested, as I duct-taped another diaper snugly around her withered hips. Do you remember withered hips? Yes, I do too. Eventually, after much trial and error, you remember trial and error, what do we see over there? I managed to create a doggy diaper that at least seemed workable, in the short term anyway. Longer term, I hoped that Sadie would recover enough rectal tone and bladder control to be able to relieve herself outside without diapers or human intervention. Do you remember how I used to have to express your bladder because it would fill up at night and it was too full and you couldn't let anything go in the morning? Do you remember that? Yeah, me too. If she didn't believe at least that modest goal, if she didn't achieve that modest goal, it was highly unlikely anyone would ever be willing to adopt her and make her a member of their forever family. Except for me, I guess. So there you go, just a little sniglet of our book again, and hopefully you could read along with your book that you have at home. Remember that Sadie autographs your copy. So join us again. The story continues. Remember, it has a happy ending. Remember that, Sadie? Oh, yes, it does. So we'll see you again soon. Thank you so much for joining us. And away we go. Reading again from Saving Sadie. What do you see over there, boo-boo? I must admit, there were moments when I caught myself sitting on the black, soft sofa in my elegant living room with a cup of coffee, the bright spring light streaming through the windows as the cats curled up beside me and Sparky and Sadie relaxed at my feet. It just felt right. It felt like family. It felt complete. And I could picture us like this forever. But those moments were as brief as they were blissful. The spell invariably broken when suddenly Sadie needed a diaper change. Again. Or needed me to take her outside to express her bladder like we talked about last time. Or it was time again to do the poultice for her forehead, trying to get the bullet out of there. Or I had to struggle for 45 minutes trying to get the necessary pills and supplements inside of her. Or I found myself fighting through my own end-of-the-day fatigue to pick her up. She's 50 pounds, you know. She's not a little gal. To pick her up for the seemingly 100th time and haul her up the stairs to bed. In those moments, I'd be overwhelmed with the relentless need, the seemingly endless patience, determination, and effort it took to just get Sadie from one day to the next. How long could I keep this up? I asked myself. Realistically, how long could I keep going? Had I been foolish and short-sighted in letting my heart overrule my head that day at the shelter when Sadie looked up at me, pleading with me with those sorrowful eyes? Sadie likes biting mosquitoes, as you just saw, and we are clobbered with mosquitoes this year. So yes, she likes to bite at them. Does your dog like to do that too? Well, thanks so much again for joining us. It's going to be a fabulous ride here. And Sadie thanks you too for being here with us. And we'll see you again when we're reading more sniglets out of Sadie's book, Saving Sadie, How a Dog No One Wanted Inspired the World. Thanks again. Good afternoon, if it's afternoon where you are. We're reading again from Sadie's book, Saving Sadie, How a Dog No One Wanted Inspired the World. Right, boo-boo? That's what we're doing today. So we're talking about my sister Marnette, who's been instrumental in helping Sadie. When I spoke with Marnette again a few days later, I confided in her that things were not looking good. And Sadie and I were both struggling to make it through the full 7 days that I had promised Sadie. I was so exhausted, so demoralized, and spent at that point. And Sadie, retreating into herself, had made no progress whatsoever. And in fact, seemed to be regressing, getting a little worse each day. Euthanasia was increasingly, seemingly, like the only realistic option. Oh, you see how that turned out, boo-boo? That didn't turn out that way, did it? right? So, this is one of the hardest things I've ever done, I told Marnette, not proud of the defeat evident in my own voice. I'm not sure I can keep this up. It's going to take a 24-hour-a-day, 7-day-a-week commitment. And I have to be back to work on Monday. Worse than that, Sadie doesn't even seem to be responding at all. Marnette sighed. Joelle, I believe that Sadie is a special animal, a special creature with gifts that haven't yet fully revealed themselves. Marnette's voice, warm and soothing, immediately put me at ease. I hear it in your voice when you talk about her. You are becoming attached to Sadie, which is why this is so hard. Don't be afraid to open your heart. Don't be afraid to let Sadie in, Marnette said. But what if this doesn't work? My voice cracked, and I swallowed hard, fighting back tears. I absolutely refused to cry. I would weep for one of my own fur babies, of course, but not for Sadie, the dog who still belonged to no one. And what if Sadie doesn't even want this? I asked in despair. What if by trying to help her, I'm actually making her suffering worse? Let Sadie guide you, Marnette encouraged gently. Let her tell you what she wants and needs. I will stand by you and support you in whatever decision you make. I am here for you, no matter what. But I know you, Joelle. When you set your mind to something, nothing is impossible. And you know what, Boo-Boo? It wasn't impossible, was it? Right? Well, Sadie and I thank you for reading along again with us. It sure has been fun, and it's been an amazing journey. So we will see you again when we're reading from Sadie's book, Saving Sadie. We're now in our 6th printing, and we love you all for helping us. Have a great week.